Chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money.
It's Ferrall, coast to coast.
Loves a little northern lights in New York City. The Big Apple. Ooh. People dressed in plastic bags, ready to traffic, some kind of fucking shake it up. You do on the Vinny come around that fat party up, rats on the west side, bedbugs uptown with a mess of tats and tatter. My brain splattered all over Manhattan. She my little rock and roll. Yeah, she my little rock and roll, baby. Hey, what's gigging? I'm Ferrall with your boy Carver High this afternoon. Mafia running it with Vinny Jr. Bushada. I love his old man. Bushada. All right, birthday roll call on a thirsty Thursday. Seth Jarvis, 22. Cole Reinhardt, 24. Jazz Chisholm, 26. Sean Mania, 32. Kyle Palmieri, 33. Ronda Rousey, 37. Ro Ninkovich, 40. Thomas Vlasic, Pickles, 49. Jeff Sanderson, 52. Tommy Salo, 53. Eric Mobley, 54. Mark Reckenball, 56. Kent Merker, 56. Tim Naring, 57. Happy birthday. Yeah. Happy birthday. Yeah. Washington hires Dan Quinn as their new head coach of the Commanders. And the Seahawks, of course, hired DC Mike McDonald of the Ravens as the new coach in Seattle. The Panthers introduced Dave Canales today as the head coach. We got him for you to listen how excited he is about the job. The Steelers are hiring Art Smith as their offensive coordinator from the Steelers. We welcome our radio affiliates, SiriusXM Channel 159 Sports Byline and their radio affiliates. We'll talk more about what's going on with Sirius next week in Las Vegas. Coming up, Packers hire Boston College coach Jeff Hafley as their defensive coordinator. He leaves BC right when he got him playing good football to be an assistant in the NFL. Bigger money, I guess. Lions OC Ben Johnson is staying in Detroit with the Lions. Isn't he the guy that wanted $15 million a year at least to coach or some crazy number that he wanted? He's never coached as a head man before, but he wanted all the cash. I guess nobody wanted to give it to him. Gabe Morency will join us from Vancouver this very hour. Plus, my good friend John Kincaid from 97.5 The Fanatic in Philadelphia will join us. We always like to talk to John, and especially he used to do the Super Bowl week with us in Vegas every year. I got to tell you, hour two dedicated to the mad scientist, Warren Sharp from sharpfootballanalysis.com and Sharp Football on X. He'll join us. He'll talk about why the Ravens did not run the ball, only 3 early down runs the entire game. What happened to him against Kansas City? And why did the Lions melt down in the second half? We'll get into that. The differences in the way these teams are built for the Super Bowl, salary cap-wise. The difference in the path through the playoffs for both teams. First with Kansas City being road warriors and then dogs and having no rest. And then how San Francisco is so different than that. Plus the strength of schedule. And then we're going to get into his early look at Super Bowl numbers and props, game odds, passing yards, rushing yards, receiving yards, MVP, and a Chiefs breakdown and a Niners breakdown. Warren Sharp also getting into the coaching changes, hires, you name it, McDonald, Quinn, the Ben Johnson situation, the Art Smith deal with the Steelers, all today with the mad scientist in the second hour. The Suns beat the Nets last night. It was the KD show in no sleep till. He busted off a 33-piece. I don't know if you saw when they did the video tribute for him. He was completely uninterested. And then when they did the player introductions, he came out and literally ignored everyone. I mean, what a facial. He told him he didn't want any attention. They gave it to him anyway, so he gave him no attention back. I thought it was fantastic. Then he lit him up for 33. And then we got KD talking about what couldn't have been in Brooklyn. Nothing ever happened with him in Brooklyn. Let's face facts. He didn't do jack in Brooklyn. Everyone gets all excited. I heard someone last night calling the game. It was Ian and the chick. I think she's fantastic, too, by the way. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. I'm a horrible human being. But the bottom line is they were talking about how he played in 129 games for the Nets. I'm like, he missed like 60. And then, I was thinking about Ben Simmons. He missed 38 straight, played one game. He's injured again. I mean, this guy gets injured going to the refrigerator. Portland beat the Bucks last night in Dame Time's return. It is Sarah Kustok. I think she's fantastic. Thank you, Mafia. I think she's great at calling games, by the way. They should have her doing network games. She knows the game inside and out. I think she's terrific. Anthony Simons putting the Blazers on top. We got that for you. Dame Time scores 25, misses a billion shots in a return to Portland. They had a 1 minute plus standing ovation for Dame Time. The Thunder beat the Nuggets by 5. Big Chet with a late 3 dagger. T-Wolves beat the Magic, and they spanked them, right? Actually, Heat beat the Kings. Cavs over the Pistons, Clippers over the Wizards. Gasol retired after 20 seasons. Did he play 20 seasons? I mean, that's crazy. The guy, I thought he had a nice career. Joel Embiid, JoJo, undergoing an MRI after leaving the Warrior game with a knee injury. He's out tonight against Utah. We got his odds for the MVP. He's not going to get the MVP. He misses 5 more games. He can't even get it. Tonight's games, Lakers, Celtics, no LeBron, no AD, no way. Pacers and Knicks at the Garden, Cleveland and Memphis off Beale Street, in Philly, Utah, like I mentioned. Purdue beat Northwestern last night at West Lafayette at Mackey Arena in overtime. Did you see that the refs did a great job in this game? I thought they were fantastic. They gave Purdue 38 more free throws than Northwestern. Honestly, how bad are you when you are just handing teams wins? 38 more free throws. Christ almighty. I almost fell over. I watched the game. Collins got teed up and thrown out. He'd had enough of it. And I don't blame him. Alabama beat Georgia. How about Georgia piking? They were up 41-27 at the half. In the second half, they gave up 58 points and got lit up. That was embarrassing. UConn barely beat Providence. Florida, how about this team? Nailing threes all night. One kid had 7 of them, including a couple in overtime, and they beat them at Rupp for the first time in forever. Boise beat New Mexico State at the Pit in Albuquerque late night. Talk about stealing your girlfriend. Tonight's games, we got them all for you. Tons of them. We'll get into them, including Whiskey and Nebraska in Lincoln. That could be a great game. Stanford, Arizona State, you name it. We got them all for you, including Oregon State, UCLA, Oregon, USC, with that crappy Bronny team that he plays on. We got updated Super Bowl betting, teams with a better record in the Super Bowl, Chiefs allowing 28 or less points. We got it all. Every state with BetMGM is on the Chiefs. All the bettors are on the Chiefs. We'll talk about Tom Brady today, hockey today. There's no hockey because the All-Star weekend starts tomorrow in Toronto. The league trying not to talk about all the players being accused of rape. It's time for Coast to Coast. Come with us.
Super Bowl is set in Vegas. We get a rematch from just a few years ago.
The only consistency in the playoffs has been Travis Kelce.
Brock Purdy, back-to-back weeks throwing 1 touchdown pass, right? You can't win MVP with 1 touchdown pass.
I hate the Chiefs, but I bet on them.
This is going to be a game that is played inside a field goal now from a spread perspective.
All that matters is there's 1 game left, the big game.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Purdue on the road in a very difficult place to win in Piscataway, New Jersey. Not in Jersey Mike's Arena, but in the rack. And it was tight.
You still have to win these games. Like, you can talk about even equate it to the NBA. Like OKC just rolling into Detroit, going, yeah, this is going to be an easy victory, and not coming away with the W because you're not focused here. Good move there for the Purdue Boilermakers. You can take a look at Zach Edey.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
The Chiefs end up winning outright as a 4.5-point underdog at kickoff last week. They're headed back to the Super Bowl yet again. They were phenomenal, Vinny, in the first half, and they were phenomenal against Miami in the first half, too.
A lot of motivated players, and look, you got to hand it to them. Youthful players playing in a great system by Spagnuolo, and we know how great of a big game coordinator Steve Spagnuolo is.
Newswire. only on SportsGrid.
I can tell you, like, Las Vegas is heavy San Francisco territory. All right, there are a ton of Niner fans, man, in Las Vegas and in Nevada, and specifically Reno. Reno's close, obviously, right? So, like, Reno's numbers will be a little bit different, but the total of 47.5. I get it.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
We'll look at the Heisman Trophy
The early
race
line.
and what it all means. Individual success.
You should have tried to get something for Anthony Rendon. Not bought at the deadline.
Newswire.
We're getting a lot of news, trades, cuts, and some movement in terms of starting quarterbacks,
Ferrall
backup quarterbacks.
coast to coast.
I want to watch great players make buckets and win games.
Game time decisions.
I have no idea what the heck the Blazers are doing and what they
In-game live.
Just
Prime
took them
time.
yard for a grand slam.
The bottom of the fourth inning in a 12-2 baseball game. We got football scores going on at Wrigley right now.
Sports Rage
That was good
Late
betting.
Night.
We waited for 1.5. We got paid.
We did.
Didn't like the 2.5. Jumped on
There's
it.
no taking weeks off in golf betting, ever. These are the best weeks to bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Oh, it's about to be a party in here. BetMGM's got all the sports betting in one place. And it's live, baby. Oh, we're placing money lines in real time. We got second half spreads and third set winners as they happen. Overs hitting in extra innings. Live is where the action is at. Can we give these people a promo? There it is.
Yeah, I mean, BetMGM's really getting ready for Big Game 58. You bet $5, you get $158 instantly. Use the bonus code SG158. You got to have an account, so download the BetMGM app on iOS or Android, or go to BetMGM.com. Sign up, deposit at least $5 into your new account. Place a wager of at least $5, standard odds. Once you place the bet, you're going to receive $158 in bonus bets, regardless of the outcome of your wager. You're going to love the BetMGM app. And while I'm speaking of apps, get the SportsGrid app because it's badass and it's free. And you can follow your favorite hosts like Carver High. Get the app. It's like you can watch the network. You can listen to the network. It's got videos, highlights, stories, news, odds, in-game odds. It's got it all on iOS or Play Store for Android. The SportsGrid app is gigging. All right, Carver High, Washington finally nails down Dan Quinn is the final new hire for head coaching in the NFL.
No more jobs available. Everybody gone. So Washington, who I guess thought that they were going to get this Ben Johnson from the Lions, that ended up not working out for them. He's staying in Detroit as the offensive coordinator. So who's Washington left with? Dan Quinn, Scotty, who of course was the head coach for Atlanta, did take them to a Super Bowl. We know how that ended at the end. They'll go ask Tom Brady how that Super Bowl ended. He's been the defensive coordinator with the Cowboys the last couple years. I don't know, Scotty. Like, is this stale bread here? We're bringing back another guy. And shouldn't this team be looking for an offensive guy when they have the second pick and they're going to draft a quarterback? I don't know. I don't love it, Scotty, to be quite honest with you.
You know, I was surprised that he didn't get the Seattle job. That was the rumor that was going on for forever. Like, you got to remember the point where I was saying mid-season they were going to fire Pete Carroll. And you can call it anything you want, parting of ways, amicable, all this other nonsense. They got rid of him. And it's because he's old and it's stale and it's washed and it's not working anymore. And you're a game over 500. It just doesn't cut the mustard. I thought Dan Quinn would be that guy in Seattle, but I'm not surprised at all that McDonald got a head coaching job in Seattle or in DC, because I think he's a great coordinator, and we'll see if he can coach as the top, shelf guy. I think that he's He's young and he's really good at what he does. And I got to be honest with you. They talk about Dallas, how great Dallas is. I think McDonald's defense was better. I think Dallas gets the national attention to this day. Every day of the week, these national TV networks talk about the Cowboys like they're still relevant. I just pray to God we can go to Vegas next week and not talk about them. There's no reason to talk about the Dallas Cowboys today or otherwise. Me, you, anybody. But Dan Quinn was the one running that defense. And, I remember a few years ago when they said Washington had the best defense in the league, and that was also bullshit. They have never had the best defense in the league, except in their Super Bowl years when they were winning Lombardi trophies. They have never been good at anything since. And they play in the worst dump in the entire NFL, and they need that new stadium faster than you can spit.
They certainly do. I didn't think their defense was that great. They were a bully team. Was the defense good against Green Bay in the playoffs? No. Was the defense good against really good teams when they played them this year? No. They're a bully team. So I don't understand this great lore that he's some defensive genius with the Cowboys. They never beat anybody good this year. So God bless and good luck. Off to Washington for Dan Quinn. McDonald now. Seattle's interesting, Scott, because they go from the oldest head coach in the league, which was Pete Carroll, to now having the youngest head coach in the league with this guy McDonald. So that's a nice little change of pace for them going into this season as well.
And for the future. Yes. You know what I mean? Like, he's young. Look, if the guy does well, let's say, and I don't even know if he got like 4 or 5 years, whatever, I think he'll do well. He got 6. He'll do well there. And then if he gets a new deal, you're looking at like continuity of a decade at least, where they had this guy Carroll there forever. And then eventually, like everything else, all good things must come to an end. I've always told you, when you hit 70, nobody wants you doing anything except greeting at the Walmart. That's it. Like when you're 70, nobody wants you around at all, ever. People say age discrimination. Well, you better believe it, because that's the way this world works. Okay?
Certainly is. There was one head coach also introduced today down in Carolina, Dave Canales, who we mentioned the other day, was getting the job. Now, you got to get fired up for a gig like this, right? I mean, the team sucked last year. They had the worst record, and they don't even get to make their pick because it's traded to Chicago. They have Bryce Young, who didn't look great in his first year as the quarterback. But Canales, Scotty, he's all fired up for this gig. Here he is.
This is a dream come true. I think the part that I kind of feel a little bit compelled to say is I'm 42 years old. My wife and I have been together for 20 years. I spent 14 amazing years with an incredible, one of the greatest football coaches of all time in Pete Carroll. So I got to sit there and just really just like formulate my plan and just wait for that opportunity to come along. And I just was like,
creepy.
My wife and I just kind of thinking like, we're ready for this, lead self, lead others, lead organizations. And that's been an approach and a mentality that I've had for a while. So when this opportunity came up and then I started seeing the pieces coming, I just got so fired up about it. And I'm really ready to serve this team.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give him this. He's got the resume. I mean, he's done his time with Carroll and with the Bucs, so I'm not going to argue it. I also know nobody's ever heard of him. Okay, so in coaching circles, they all know who he is. In the NFL, players and coaches know who he is, and none of us have ever heard of him.
Right. Yep, and now he gets a chance to be the head guy. He also talked glowingly about Bryce Young. Of course, what is he going to do, say that he sucks? So he thinks that he's going to be able to fix him.
He did suck.
Steelers, this happened the other day, but of course you haven't been here. The Steelers hired Arthur Smith as the offensive coordinator. Go ahead, Scotty, your thoughts.
Well, I just think it was so bad with Canada. I don't know what to think other than that this guy was awful as the Falcons head coach. So they went from terrible to awful. Congratulations. I mean, it's like crossing over the street and, you get rid of your fat girlfriend and then you go across the street and hook up with another one. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing here with a guy that was terrible at his job? I mean, I don't even think Steeler fans can absorb it. And then I think it's absolutely ridiculous that I've been watching Art Rudy II, talking about we got to get better quarterback play, and this team should be built on Warren and Harris. And we already knew that Warren frankly, was better than Harris, and that Harris finally started doing some things in the playoffs, but that their offense was ass muffins. I mean, it was absolutely the worst offense in the NFL. And then you go hire a guy that sucks at his job. No one can argue. We'd be here all day. But what are you going to argue that Art Smith's a great offensive mind when he butchered the Falcons like Sam the Butcher? He was like the baker, the movie The Baker, the guy cooking bread. He was selling meth. I mean, honestly, he's beating people up in the mob. I mean, this guy's the worst. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, I was very surprised. I thought they'd go in some more of a passing direction with a new, different kind of mind. But they're going to run it, Scotty. That's what they like to do in Pittsburgh. You were talking about Hafley before, who's going from Boston College to Green Bay. Actually wasn't a money thing, Scotty. He wanted to get back to just coaching football. Didn't like dealing with NIL, didn't like dealing with transfer portals, didn't want to do that anymore. Just wanted to coach football, got an offer in the NFL, and said, I'm getting the hell out of here. So that's why Jeff's in Green Bay.
His team was starting to get really good quarterback. They look great in their bowl game at Fenway Park. Program on the move, and then he bolts on him. Nice job. Leave him happy.
I kind of thought that Mike would maybe go in a different direction, or at least listen to some people with some different ideas.
If you were going to retain Mike Tomlin as coach, and I believe with both feet that you shouldn't let him really anywhere near this hire. That he had proved over the years that this was not an area of comfort or expertise for him.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Oh, it's a beautiful time. NBA players are going wild. If I had to guess, a lot of people are going to get real angry. No defense, no defense, no defense. See, I want people to understand this, okay? Because we're always honest. When I take that big pause, that means we're thinking about betting big.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
Well, look at the Heisman Trophy.
The early line.
And what it all means. Individual success.
You should have tried to get something for Anthony Rendon. Not bought at the deadline.
Newswire.
We're getting a lot of news, trades, cuts, and some movement in terms of starting quarterbacks,
Ferrall Coast to Coast.
I want to watch great players make buckets and win games.
Game time decisions.
You have no idea what the heck the Blazers are doing and what they
In-game live.
Just
prime time.
Yard for a grand slam.
The bottom of the fourth inning in a 12-2 baseball game. We got football scores going on at Wrigley right now.
Sports Rage
That was
late
good betting.
night.
We waited for the 1.5. We got paid.
We did.
Didn't like the 2.5. Jumped on
There's
it.
no taking weeks off in golf betting ever. These are the best weeks to bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, so just so you're clear here, next week the 5th through the 9th. We're going to be in Vegas for Super Bowl 58 at several locations. We're going to be broadcasting from Radio Row at the Mandalay Bay where the fishes fly. I'll be there at the Sirius XM compound on the stage with Mad Dog Radio, NFL Radio, and SportsGrid Ferrall Coast to Coast. Of course, Morency is going to be doing shows as well from the MGM, and it's just going to be crazy. There's going to be millions of people there. Insane. I know you're looking forward to it, Gabe.
Remember last time we were at the MGM Sportsbook, it was during the NFL draft.
Right.
And we had the set up right in the middle of the book. All kinds of fans, thousands of people coming and going through the sportsbook and through the casino wearing their jerseys. That's a cool thing about Vegas. And, I lived in Vegas before the Super Bowl was actually being played there. And there's a thing there, bro. It's like, even if your team isn't playing, Scott, you represent, bro. Like, you know what I mean? If this was your old stomping days, bro, you'd be wearing your Steeler jersey. You're not playing. Hey, I'm a Steeler. It's like representing the gang. I'm a Steeler fan. You're drinking. You bet on the other team. You let everybody, I'm a Steeler fan. No, but I'm betting on your team today. Let's go. It's a wild atmosphere. It's a great time in Vegas for the Super Bowl. So now the actual Super Bowl itself is there. And there's going to be all kinds of people, Scott. I've said this before. I like Phoenix. It's cool, but you and your boys, you're not going to Phoenix to party all week, and you're not going to the game. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we're not going to the game, but we're just going to go hang out in the city where the Super Bowl is, right? You do that in Vegas. You're like, I don't need to go to the game. I'm going to hang out here all week, go to all the NFL events, soak it all in. I'm going to watch the game at the MGM Grand. I'm going to watch the game at Mandalay Bay after. It's going to be an epic week next week. Everybody that goes can have a great time.
It's going to be insane. Like, frankly, as far as I'm concerned, like no other Super Bowl before it. I've been to 30 of these things at least, and this is Vegas. Like, let's face facts. The draft there shreds all other drafts.
They should have put every draft there.
They should have the Final Four there every 2 years. They should have the Super Bowl there every 2 years. I know next year's in New Orleans or whatever, and I've been to New Orleans 1,000 times. I've been to Final Fours there, Super Bowls there, everything else. Same stadium as, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. That's crazy. Vegas is new. Vegas is jumping. Vegas is hopping. Vegas is badass. New Orleans, over and over again, it's like a bad movie. Like, honestly, I've been there. It's cool, but it's not Vegas. I don't care what anybody says. It's not even
small,
close.
Scott, for the modern NFL.
Tight.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, I understand, the stadium, the Super Bowl's the Super Bowl, but you've seen it. This operation is bigger, bro, right? From the media to the amount of people. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of people now. And, you look at the last, it's been very West Coast biased, though, and I love it. I got no problem with it. I'm actually surprised by it. This is the third year in a row, man, that the Super Bowl's been on the West Coast, right? You had the Los Angeles, you had Phoenix, now you have Vegas, next year New Orleans, and then we're back on the coast again, baby, San Francisco. And I can't lie, Scott, I'm looking more forward to that one than New Orleans already. I'm all next year's New Orleans, it's all right, but 2 years, we're going to San Francisco, all right.
Yeah, and that's better, the West Coast. And it's also, they're going to have it back at SoFi in 27. And the only place, in my view, on the East Coast that is good is Miami. Okay, Miami's a load of fun, and that's a cool place for the Super Bowl. I don't have a problem with Tampa either, although Tampa's spread out with all their parties. They screw that up. But Vegas, L.A., San Francisco is a jumping place. It is awesome. I lived there. And I just thought the world of it. It's changed dramatically. I want to ask you though. We're coming back and doing the game at 6:00 on the night of the 11th from the SportsGrid Network studios. That's going to be cool. You're flying back to New York. Ranieri's going to be here. All the talent from the network's going to be here, and we're going to be doing a blowout day of coverage of Super Bowl 58.
Yeah, it's going to be off the hook all week long. Going to have some great guest breakdowns. I'm already compiling my my prop sheets and my picks. I'm up to about 6, 7, 8 now. And this has nothing to do with like how many catches, receptions, no player props so far. I'm just talking about the simple sort of, the props. Will the team that scores first win the game? What's the first? Is it going to be a pass play or a rush play? So and everything we're doing, we're backing it up. So we're putting a lot of, it's the Super Bowl, baby. We go big on the way out. And we were talking about this last night on the show, though, about going big on the way out with the Super Bowl. And I've done it over the years. Trust me. You end up putting, a lot of money on a team you're not a fan of, and you think, well, there's no way they're going to lose this game. This game, either team can win. Like, you have to, we know this coming in. Either team can win. You can make an argument for either team, and it would be a sound one. So I really do think it's good to diversify your portfolio and get some props going, right? So, I'm taking San Francisco, but it's not going to be a life and death thing for me. If they don't win, I'm in trouble. No, I'm going to take the San Francisco 49ers. I'm going to have a bunch of Kansas City props. I'll have San Francisco props, and I just hope to win more than I lose. But there's a lot of angles that I like, Scott, about the Super Bowl that I've been successful. Like a good example, let's throw it out here right now. Will the team that scores first win the game? All right. There seems to be a perception that, yes, they do. This isn't soccer, bro. It's football. All right. It's dumb. Last year, Philadelphia scored first, right? What happened? They didn't win the football game. Yeah, and it's 6-1, Scott. I'll give you some of the numbers here. Will the team that scores first win the game? It's plus 130. 5 of the last 7 Super Bowls, the team that scored first has lost the Super Bowl. So you're getting plus 130, Scott. Yeah, you're getting plus 130. How about this is another one? What you want is, will the team that scores last win the Super Bowl? And how about this? This is only minus 155 right now up there. Every book has this. These are standard props, right? Will the team score first? Will the team score? The team that scores last to win the Super Bowl, 13-1. You've won your bet 13 of the last 14 years. See, these are the things that a lot of people aren't talking about. They're talking about Taylor Swift props and stuff, Scott.
Right.
I'm talking about making money. All right?
Yeah.
I'm talking about making money. Here's another one I think. I'm curious your take on this one. First play of the game is a rush. Is plus 130. Again, we're getting plus money. Both teams are going to run the ball here, Scott. How about this? 4 of the last 5 Super Bowls, the first play of the game has been a run play. They're not throwing Brock Purdy first. They're going to hand it off to McCaffrey. They're going to hand it off to Pacheco. Boom. That's how this Super Bowl's starting, bro. Plus 130, Scott. You get some plus money there.
Yeah, I like that. Do you ride San Francisco based on the fact that is there a reason other than the fact that so many people are betting Kansas City initially?
No, I'm back to spite, Scott. I'm back to spite. This is like returning. Remember, we're returning the jacket out of spite. But all kidding aside, I do think that I just don't like them, bro. I just can't take this anymore. And it's nothing personal. I think Kelsey's a cool dude. Whatever. I'm happy for him in Swift. I'm not a Swift hater and all that. But it's just But it's not like San Francisco or Sisters of the Poirier, Scott. We're kind of, this is rich. This is the blue blood special, right? This is rich versus rich. But I just think that San Francisco have enough weapons. If you look at what Kansas City has done, their defense is awesome. They're giving up 17 points a game. They held Lamar Jackson at 10 points. But let's look. They got the Miami Dolphins in minus 30-degree weather, all right? The Buffalo Bills could have, should have, would have beat them. The Bills went up and down the field on them. They put 24 on them. And then the Ravens just choked last week, only scored 10. I get it. But those are easier offenses to contain. You've got less people to worry about. So you take Stephon Diggs away, and what happened? They were in a lot of trouble, right? And how are you going to take McCaffrey away and Ayuk away and Samuel away and George Kittle away? Let's just be real. This comes down to Brock Purdy. Can Brock Purdy handle the moment, Scott, for 60 minutes on the football field? I think we got a close game, but I do believe that the 49ers have enough talent to win this game. It's the team against Mahomes, man. Mahomes is a legend. What can you say?
Well, so betting against him is the kiss of death. And then the other one is that Diggs stopped playing 10 weeks ago. It wasn't just in the playoffs. He stopped doing anything for Buffalo 10 weeks ago. And the reality is they should move on from him. He just stopped doing anything for Buffalo. You guys want to keep him around to complain for a few more years? He's been complaining the entire season and down the stretch.
He hasn't been.
He was the one doing nothing.
No, but I can't dispute. Listen, as soon as the offensive coordinator changed with Brady, they got to figure this out. Because what's the point? But he never complained, actually. He never complained. That's just the media thing that he's bitching all the time. they've got to, if you're going to pay this guy all this money, get him the damn ball. But what they need, and this isn't about the Bills, but what the Bills need, Scott, is another wide receiver, bro. Point blank. They don't have anybody else, so it's easy to take Diggs away. Like, look at the Bengals. Look at these other teams.
Do you get sick of, and I'm sick of talking about the Bills, do you get sick of watching the same Super Bowls over and over? Kansas City and San Francisco, here we go again. We just saw this.
Yes and no. I'd prefer if it was fresh every year, Scott, but this has been our entire life. Whatever, dude. It used to be Montana and the Niners all the time, right? In the 70s, it's your Steelers all the time. I talked about it. The NBA has been the same damn teams have been winning for 50 years, bro. It's every league is sort of like, it's always like this. Look at the NBA. Every year we had LeBron versus the Warriors, right? That's sports, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, for all the parity talk, the same teams win all the time, guys.
Here's fair enough.
NCAA tournament, same thing, Scott. Cinderella never wins. It's the same teams.
I hate both these teams equally. And then I would say that I enjoy watching the Niners suffer for 29 years a lot more than I care about Mahomes winning. There you go. I don't want them to win their six. No, that's true.
I thought that Mike would maybe go in a different direction, or at least listen to some people with some different ideas.
If you were going to retain Mike Tomlin as coach, and I believe with both feet that you shouldn't let him really anywhere near this hire. That he had proved over the years that this was not an area of comfort or expertise for him.
Ferrall coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Oh, it's a beautiful time. NBA players are going wild. If I had to guess, a lot of people are going to get real angry. No defense, no defense, no defense. See, I want people to understand this, okay? Because we're always honest. When I take that big pause, that means we're thinking about betting big.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
Well, look at the Heisman Trophy.
The early line.
And what it all means. Individual success.
You should have tried to get something for Anthony Rendon. Not bought at the deadline.
Newswire.
We're getting a lot of news, trades, cuts, and some movement in terms of starting quarterbacks,
Ferrall coast to coast.
I want to watch great players make buckets and win games.
Game time decisions.
You have no idea what the heck the Blazers are doing and what they
in-game live,
just
prime time.
Yard for a grand slam.
In the bottom of the fourth inning in a 12-2 baseball game. We got football scores going on at Wrigley right now.
Sports Rage
that was
late
better.
night.
We waited for 1.5. We got paid.
We did.
Then like the 2.5. Jumped on.
There's no taking weeks off in golf betting ever. These are the best weeks to bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
So I always think of John Kincaid when I saw the General Hospital 60-year anniversary show. I watched that, and I almost fell over watching that. And then the other thing is that I saw half of them are dead now. Like, all the people on that show are dying off, like legitimately dying, not like, fake soap opera dying and then coming back from the dead like Jesus. And then the other thing is that both of us should be dead, and we're not.
Yes,
You have fought cancer multiple times, and look at you sitting there. And then
0 for 3.
And then I had open heart surgery, and they told me I should be dead. So here we are, John Kincaid from the Fanatic in Philly. How about them apples?
I'd say that God wanted no parts of either one of us, is my theory. He thought he's going to, because he knows what's going to happen when we get up there. So he figured, let me have another 20, 30 years before those two arrive, please. You look good, Ferrall. You look good.
Well, I'm grateful that I'm alive, and I'm going to go to the Super Bowl. So that'll be like the first time I've traveled or anything since this all happened. I told this story one day on the air about the guy Barton. Is that incredible that he got divorced? His wife had a baby with some other guy, and he did a press conference. He's like, I just want to be clear that that's not my kid.
Yeah, he's coming back. You saw that, right?
Yeah,
he's coming back for it's going to be it'll be the third time back from the dead for him. So we're only on our a couple times for us, so we're doing pretty well. But you got to keep up with Port Charles. And as I told you before, I live in Landview. I live in the town of Landview, right where Landview was. So I mean, I said I still run into Matthew Buchanan and his whole family out here. Yeah, I haven't seen Bo. Dorian is quite thing. I'm just hoping that one day when I run to the supermarket, that I'll somehow run into Blair.
So didn't Blair was hot. I'd sleep with Blair in a minute. I still think Blair was kind of hot. Didn't Bobby die for real on General Hospital?
Died. Yeah, Bobby died. Yeah, she died, and my buddy Tyler Christopher, who played the original Nicholas, he passed away.
He died too. That's crazy.
He died. Yeah.
He was young.
He died.
Was he 50 years old?
50 years old, and God rest his soul. And he came down and went to the Masters. Came into town, went down to the Masters with me in Augusta once and everything. Good people. And the fictional town of Port Charles continues to thrive.
Yeah. So talk to me about JoJo and his health problems, his knee, and the fact that he's not playing and possibly will miss out on MVP honors if he continues to miss games.
Well, he's going to miss. There's no way, I would tell you right now. He's not playing tonight. So that would give you a 4-game buffer for the rest of the year for him not to miss. And honestly, when JoJo sneezes, they usually give him 1 day off. So that could be a problem. But I'm worried about this knee situation because the 76ers are keeping it very much under wraps. They're not releasing any information yet. They're reportedly deciding on what to do. According to Woj, they're deciding on what to do based on what they've learned about his injury. That scares me because they say the options are maybe he tries to play through it, they give him a little bit of rest, or maybe they do some sort of a cleanup. The way I look at it, Ferrall, if he's out for any significant period of time, it's going to knock them down to a minimum of the 5 seed in the East or the 6 seed, and then that pretty much puts this season in the crapper anyway.
So you were there and you saw Doc Rivers, and you've seen what he's done in the playoffs, which is nothing. You've seen what he's done in Game 7s, which is the worst in history, 10 Game 7 losses. You've seen him lead the NBA history in blown 3-2 series leads. He's had 4 3-1 series leads blown. I mean, this guy's the king of failure. What do you think they're getting in Milwaukee other than a guy that doesn't win in the playoffs and that makes way too much money?
I think they're well, one thing is I would think that Jeff Van Gundy's a little bit pissed off and everybody else that was replaced in order to hire him. But I like Doc. I tell you, I like Doc, Scott, but I just would be very, very I got confused by his rotations and the way he does things. And I watch how Nick Nurse does things now, and I'm amazed. Nurse has a completely different strategy as far as his rotations. I love the fact that he lets Joel Embiid play the entire first quarters, and then he sits him a little bit in the second quarter. I am very much intrigued by what he could do. But I got to tell you, they're only going as far, or even have a chance to go as far as where Joel Embiid can take them. So even if they had to shut him down for 3 weeks, that would be my best option if I'm the 76ers, saying maybe you end up with a 5 seed, he comes back, he's healthy, and then they have a chance to make a run in the postseason. Because we've seen it. Miami made it a couple years ago as an 8 seed, so it can happen. I just don't know. The Sixers have not been out of the second round since 2001. That is 2 years after you brought hockey to Atlanta with your stick mic. I mean, it's how long ago?
So let me ask you, when you saw the Knicks have sex with them in Philadelphia, and then Utah did it to him, and he was still playing.
Yes, he was.
They're just not that good, bro.
Well, the thing is that I know what the Knicks are. If the Sixers are a big disappointing franchise that doesn't deliver when it counts, the Knicks are the poster child for that. I believe I was in second grade. You and I might have been both. I think we were both in second grade the last time the Knicks won anything. So, I mean, it's been a long time.
But we knew they sucked. Everyone thinks Philly's going to win it every year.
Oh,
I mean, they're going to be in the finals. They're going to be in the conference finals. They're going to be – all we ever hear is JoJo, and they're going to do it. With the Knicks, we just are used to sucking.
It's weird, though, Scott, is that you hear about this. We're on the Sixers big this year. We're on the Sixers. But you don't hear that here. I swear, I do. I've done morning radio now. I'm in my 4th year. You don't hear Sixers fans saying this is the year they're going to the finals. This is the year they're going to win it all, because they've been burned so many times and have had so many disappointments. It's hard for them to believe. So it's weird because usually teams' fan bases hype them up more than the national media. That's not the way it is with the Sixers. It's very strange. Here, it's like a PTSD of constantly seeing second round collapses.
So Vic Fangio, the stuff I'm hearing about him in Miami, where like Drew Rosenhaus was saying players hated him, and then there were reports that he claimed none of them worked, that they didn't bust their ass at all. They wanted to party on South Beach every night. They didn't care about what was going on at Hard Rock. They wanted to go party on South Beach, and that they all couldn't stand him. And then the minute he was out of there with their phony exit, talk, he went to the Eagles. What's the reaction in Philly to all these people saying that players hate him?
Well, the thing is he has a long track record, and that has never been the track record. His 1 year in Miami is the 1 year where you hear stuff like that. Vic Fangio doesn't have a history of being like, the players don't want to play for him. They think he sucks. The one thing is Scott, remember, he was supposed to be their defensive coordinator last year. But Jonathan Gannon told the Eagles organization that he was staying after the NFC Championship game and that he was going nowhere. So then Vic Fangio needed a seat. He was in as a consultant with the Eagles last year in the postseason. Right. He needed a job. Miami called. He took the job. And then Gannon does him dirty and goes to Arizona. And then we end up with Sean Desai and the pencil Matt Patricia, and obviously both of them out the door. It was terrible. I'm telling you, it was awful. The 1-6 collapse this year was as bad as anything I've ever witnessed. And I was in Atlanta for 28-3. At least that was only an hour and a half of time on the clock. That 1-6 was 2 months of hell. And it was atrocious.
So before I ask you about Carter Hart, I want to ask you which gig you like better. You were doing sports talk. You were the king of sports talk in Atlanta for almost 30 years, and you've been in Philly for 4 years. And I can't compare the two markets. I worked in both. Philly's more hardcore than Atlanta. That's just all there is to it.
The one thing is that Atlanta was wonderful, and Atlanta was a wonderful place to start a family and have a great career. But I'm home, Scott. I'm home. I mean, it's different when every morning I wake up and I'm like, oh, I have to talk about the Eagles today. I have to talk about Philly spring training. I have to talk about the Sixers. I'm talking about my teams. Whereas the people in Atlanta, we had so many transplants. When Buck Bellew and I did our show for 21 years, it was the Southerner versus the Northerner. And there were so many transplants in Atlanta they made me feel very, very welcome and very, very much at home. And so many great people down there. And I think I've had the knife removed from my back where David Dickey placed it. And his hitmen. 2 weeks after our 20th anniversary party. Honestly, I mean, it's like there's a radio crime family. They're actually wonderful people, as you know, the Dickies. They're wonderful people. Yeah. But David should have put down the plastic tarp before we had that last meeting.
Oh, they did a great job with their big $3 billion buy that they couldn't pay for. That did wonders for their names and careers. I guess they didn't know how to cook the books. All right, my last question is, how good is Carter Hart's lawyer?
I am not counting on Carter Hart's lawyer to be anything exceptional. I got to tell you right now, the Flyers, I don't know if you saw, they made him a non-rostered player today. So they took him off the roster today. So I would say that it's very safe to assume that that is the end of his Flyers career. Now, he's going to be a restricted free agent this summer. But look, Keith Jones and Danny Briere are trying to build something new, fresh, and trying to do a rebuild right. And so to them, I would think it'd be very hard to, even if he was ever found innocent, and you would hope that they move on, because the bad press is just too much for them to have to deal with.
Do you believe the story of all these players, what is it, 8 of them, that they were involved in this alleged rape? Do you believe it? What do you believe?
I do believe that somebody wanted to make this story go away, and that there was some efforts to hide it from the public and to keep it under wraps. And whenever that happens, Scott, I always assume that at the very least, something really, really bad happened. Whether each player is guilty or anything like that, I'll let the courts decide that. But whenever someone tries the big cover-up, whether it's the police, whether it's Canadian Hockey Organization, whatever it is with payoffs, that tells me that something bad happened that they did not want to have to deal with in the court of public opinion.
Is that not crazy that they have to go up to Toronto tomorrow and have an all-star weekend with a gigantic rape hovering over the league?
I think the timing of it is suspicious at best, that they did it when it comes to All-Star Weekend. But to me, again, I want justice served one way or another. Either these players get their justice or the alleged victim gets her justice. But whatever it is, I want answers. And I think it's a scar on the game of hockey that that they're dealing with this right now. And better to get this stuff out in the open and get it cleaned up.
Real quick, do you like Tortorella having him around with his venom toward the media? Is it funny?
Scotty, he's amazing to deal with. Torts has had a rebirth. He's so cool. He's so much fun. But guess what? Ask a stupid question, you're getting a throat punch.
Yeah, I'd like to punch him in the throat and in the face and nose area. And I'm twice as big as that little munchkin. I love you, John. I'll see you hopefully
Love
in the
you
Super
too.
Bowl.
Thought that Mike would maybe go in a different direction, or at least listen to some people with some different ideas.
If you were going to retain Mike Tomlin as coach, and I believe with both feet that you shouldn't let him really anywhere near this hire. That he had proved over the years that this was not an area of comfort or expertise for him.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Oh, it's a beautiful time. NBA players are going wild. If I had to guess, a lot of people are going to get real angry. No defense, no defense, no defense. See, I want people to understand this, okay? Because we're always honest. When I take that big pause, that means we're thinking about betting big.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network.
We'll look at the Heisman
The
Trophy
early
race
line.
and what it all means. Individual success.
You should have tried to get something for Anthony Rendon. Not bought at the deadline.
Newswire.
We're getting a lot of news, trades, cuts, and some movement in terms of starting quarterbacks,
Ferrall
backup quarterbacks.
coast to coast.
I want to watch great players make buckets and win games.
Game time
I have
decisions.
no idea what the heck the Blazers are doing and what they
In-game live.
Just
Prime
took 'em
time.
yard for a grand slam.
The bottom of the fourth inning in a 12-2 baseball game. We got football scores going on at Wrigley right now.
Sports Rage
That was
Late
good betting.
Night.
We waited for the 1.5. We got paid.
We
for
did.
patient, didn't like the 2.5. Jumped on
There's
it.
no taking weeks off in golf betting ever. These are the best weeks to bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
That blows my mind. I've known John Kincaid for like 30 years, and that he's been through cancer 3 times and radiation and chemotherapy 3 different times and won. That is insanity. Speaking of insanity, Mike, what about this rape case? I know it's Canada junior hockey's kind of problem. 5 guys in the NHL now that were all in the junior team when this alleged rape occurred in 2018, you're telling me. This isn't good for Canadian hockey, and at some level, I think the NHL is going to want to wash their hands of these 5 players in some capacity or another.
Yeah, they absolutely will. Carter Hart, Dylan Dubé, who plays for Calgary. You've got the kids Foote and McLeod, who are with the Devil organization. These guys have all now gone out on their leaves. This did not happen when they played in the NHL. So what the NHL will now do, Scotty, is they will sit back, they will wait, and once these guys go to trial, whatever happens, whether they're convicted, etc., once that goes down, then the NHL will, they're not playing there anymore. They're not going to play anyway, especially if they go into tin. So 8 guys from this, they were at some fundraising gala back in 2018 for the Hockey Canada, and look, that's been the story of it. And they all, I guess, went into the London police on Tuesday. All the lawyers released their statements that they're not guilty and they're going to fight this and all that. So this is where it's going to go to now.
And now, was I not reading that she got like some kind of $3.5 million payoff? Is that true?
That's very possible. Maybe she did. I know that this started in 2022 when she initially sued Hockey Canada. But it's possible that did happen. I'm not sure about that, but now it's a legal matter now.
She was 20, I think, when it happened.
Yes, correct. She was 20 at the time of the
I
assault.
read the story that they allegedly, they all were involved in this, and then wouldn't let her out of the room. They blocked her from
very bad
running for her
situation.
life. They kept her locked up and kept allegedly doing this to her. It's crazy.